as a young kid, I was taking piano lessons here locally in Fort Valley, and that was good, but I never really truly liked taking piano lessons. My mama made sure that I did that. But I had a friend that one day I was over at his house, and in his closet, I noticed a guitar, an acoustic guitar, and I went over to it, and it was broken. And I started just saying, I'd really love to play guitar. And the next thing I know, he says, I don't want this thing. You can have it. So I carried the thing home, found somebody to fix the little broken part there. And from that point, I went into a music store and found me some little beginner music books. And I started just learning some basic little notes and some basic little chords, and would sing along with it and whatnot. Actually kind of got excited about that, and then started listening to, before the Beatles, there was several groups that did guitar instrumentals, kind of like, think of it like the Ventures. They were a big name back then. And after I kind of started trying to mimic some of that as best I could at that point in time, and that way I could do some little chording and stuff. And I had another friend that was in the same grade with me, and he had started up a little garage band called the Velvetones. This little group only had a guitar player with a singer, and his name was Robin Gassett, a local guy here, had a bass player and a drummer. That's all they had was three. So he invited me over to his house one day, because he heard I could play guitar, and I strummed him a few chords, and the next thing you know, he says, you're going to be my rhythm player in my band. And I said, wow, let's do that. So I played with them. We played over in Reynolds at one of my first gig or two that I ever played was over in Reynolds at the Old Woman's Clubhouse there. And my best friend at that point in time was Chris Smithson, who he was in the Malibu's band, but Chris liked to piddle around with a banjo, and we got to me playing guitar a little bit and him playing banjo at his house and my house. And next thing I showed him a little bit of stuff about guitar, and he kind of got interested in that, and we became good friends and started listening to some of the Beatles music that had just come out, and we were kind of getting excited about the possibility of that, even though we were doing songs, the folk songs like Peter, Paul, and Mary had and stuff like that. We were playing guitar stuff, and at the same time, not knowing it, Wes Wheeler and David Lucky were also thinking about getting into music. They knew they could do it, and one day we were all just kind of together talking about it, and the next thing they said, well, let's see if we can use the band room where the band practices, the high school band, after school one day. So we went and set up a little bit of drums and a little amplifier too, and we went in there and played as best we could, 2 or 3 songs that we thought we knew. And we finished up there and said, we can do this. We kind of proceeded on from that. There were a couple of ladies, Ms. Lane and Martha Ellen McCord. I may already know that. They were instrumental in the teen club here locally in Fort Valley, and we would get together to practice, the 4 of us, and we just knew we were ready for the teen club, and we would go over there. Me, Dennis Herbert, Chris Smithson, Wes, and David Lucky. Wes and I, we lived next door to each other. We would either practice at my house or Wes's house, but we would invite these 2 ladies over. I guess probably about the time we knew a dozen songs, we were inviting them and saying, we're ready to play the teen club. They'd come and listen to us a little bit, and then they would come back and say, no, y'all aren't quite ready yet. Learn some more songs. And so we'd, another few weeks later, we'd call them up. They'd come over for a little while, and they'd listen to us and kind of give us some encouragement. And then they'd say, no, you're not ready yet. So, looking back on it, we were kind of getting aggravated at the two ladies in our own little way, but going along there, they really did us a favor, folks. So they put us off long enough that we knew enough songs to pull off a little teen club when we finally got to do it. And but we just thought they were awful and not letting us go ahead and playing when we knew about 10 or 12 songs. But it turned out good. And I'll tell you this: when we played our first gig, I don't know exactly when it was, about a week, 2 weeks at the most. I think it was a week before that. Peggy and I, my wife, we've been married 52 years now, and we dated 5.5. We had our very first date. Christmas and then his date, I don't remember his date, but we ended up double dating. And of course, I think the two girls had to listen to more stuff about music than really being on a date. But anyway, Peggy didn't get to come because she didn't really understand what all this music stuff was, and there's a teen club in Fort Valley. So anyway, basically from the time we started playing, she's been with us the whole way, not all the gigs, but she's had to witness and be a part of it. So kind of interesting that. As we kind of became popular in the local teen clubs around Middle Georgia, there was a disc jockey here locally. Phil Clark was the name he went by, and he decided that he could book us a little bit, and he booked us a couple of other little teen clubs. Next thing we know, he's booking us, in Roswell, or he's booking us in Tifton, and we would go to these different towns in Middle Georgia, or even South or North Georgia. He had a way of contacting the radio stations. It was Manchester, and he would talk them into doing advertisements. And so, lo and behold, we would drive over to, once again, say to Manchester, because while we were driving, we would be listening, and every now and then hear an ad that the Malibus are playing at the teen club. And lo and behold, that was a big thing that helped boost crowds. And as you boost crowds and you play and you get better and you get more excited about it, the next thing you know, it grows. Next person tells it about it at Lake Spivey, close to Atlanta. Next thing you know, it's sold out. Go to Tifton and Waycross, and it just kind of started growing really fairly quickly, and got some stuff in the making paper about us. And the next thing you know, we're asked to be opening one of the bigger acts that had come across Macon in quite a while, and that started the whole new era. The groups that had like number one hits, they had Freddie and the Dreamers. They were the top act. They were from England. The Beau Brummels, that was, if I remember right, they had a hit, a Laugh Laugh. Then there was the McCoys, Hang On Sloopy, and stuff. Matter of fact, there's still a guitar player that was their lead player that is still playing today, and he's really, really good. Yep, matter of fact, it was a number one hit, just like Freddie and the Dreamers. And then locally, that was it. And then locally, you had Buddies, which is a Macon group, and you had us, the Malibus. And we actually opened that show, which I tell you about the opening producer. I don't know who he was, but there was a producer for the show that went with these groups all around the country as they did their shows. He was in charge of how it all ran. But here we are, little barely college and rest of them high school kids, and we're opening this act in the Macon City Auditorium. And he comes there and he says, "Boys, let me tell you, y'all are the first act. I'm going to count to 4. I want you to hit the bass drum, and then I want you to start, and we're going to open this curtain, and don't be scared or don't be intimidated," something to that effect. And I can still remember that so well because, here we are, little 17-year-olds up there, and I can still see it today as almost as well as I could then. But all of a sudden, bam, that curtain opens, and we start playing our first song, and you look out The crowd's looking at us, but of course we're looking at the crowd, and we're looking at that, and the whole place is slammed full, standing room only. People are screaming. It's mainly girls, and you're up there on the stage, and you're a 17-year-old, and it's just kind of like it got you. I like this. But I'll tell you about that particular concert, and I did it on several others, but that particular concert, she was out in the crowd, and after we finished playing, and we were talking with some of these other bands from England and stuff, lo and behold, I go out there, find her, and I bring her back, and I'm able to talk them into letting her come backstage. You know, she got her on perch, so she got to see us on stage with the other folks she got to meet kind of personally, you know. We went over to Auburn University to play for a fraternity, and it was the agriculture fraternity at Auburn, and so we ended up going out into the country where they were going to have their party, you know, the regular old fraternity party. So we get out there with our equipment and stuff, and we've got a road manager by then, by the way, that's setting up and driving for us and all that. We get out there, and it's a chicken coop, a real true-to-life chicken coop. Now, bear in mind, it's had the chickens, but for this, they've gone and taken the chickens out and put them somewhere. After the gig, they put the chickens back in there. And actually, we kind of laughed at that all night, and of course we made all sorts of little jokes about it. We'd had an Atlanta manager by then. We're playing the different things that the Atlanta manager sent us to. We went to the fraternities and all these other bigger events. And I don't even remember how exactly they first came up, but all of a sudden, before a gig, we've got go-go girls showing up. I can't remember if it's the first time it was one or two. We get these go-go girls, and they're going to perform with us. So anyway, there's some little tables that are set up on its side, and so they danced all night in their little skirts and, you know, stuff on a table. And then so we were through and whatnot, and I don't think they got paid. They were just delighted to be there. And then lo and behold, we go play somewhere else over in there in, you know, another month or something like that. And lo and behold, guess what? Go-go girls show up. And then lo and behold, I know at least another time or two, and all of a sudden they show up, and this time they've got cages. They're dancing inside the cages like you would see on TV. We remember one of the girls being a secretary at one of the offices, but other than that, we don't know exactly where these girls came from. But I was off at Auburn. I was one grade ahead of these guys, but I was at Auburn. Believe it or not, this skinny little Dennis Herbert, I'm taking wrestling as a PE, and yeah, and it actually gets to final exam time. We're doing our wrestling match stuff, and I fall backwards and end up dislocating my elbow, because that puts me in a sling. Well, guess what? Later that weekend, we've got a gig, and so all of a sudden we don't, you know, I can't play the gig. It's my right arm. And so some of the guys that were down at Southwestern, they knew of Mike, having played in the band, and knew he could play guitar and stuff. So they go and ask Mike, and sure enough, he's able to fill in for me. And I actually went and saw him that night and watched him play, but I couldn't play. But lo and behold, they found out that they liked Mike. And I didn't lose my spot. I still a lead guitar player. But anyway, Mike, all of a sudden, Mike could play saxophone. Mike could play trumpet. Mike could sing lead stuff, and he could play guitar. So the next thing you know, we've got another versatile player in there. So I guess it's a good thing I broke my elbow. All of a sudden, it went from 5 people to 6, and we immediately changed our name to Sixpence. We opened the Russell Dormitory at the University of Georgia when that was 1967, I believe. Now, when we did, we went and backed up an entertainer called Eddie Floyd, and he had a song called "Knock on Wood," and so we were his band, and so we played, and then he would come on, and we would play songs with him singing, and we'd play some more. But interesting, that was the very opening of Russell Dorm. Now, let's go forward to Russell Dorm just a couple of years ago. They were talking about he was so old and getting dilapidated, they might take it down. Well, the University of Georgia finally decided to renovate the dorm. And so not last September, whenever they started the classes back at UGA, they reopened the dorms, and actually one of the first groups that went in was girls, and one of those was my granddaughter. So I helped open the dorm when it was first done, and now I've got a granddaughter that helped, I guess you would say, open the dorm, because she was one of the first ones that came in like a week or two before the dorm actually physically opened. Having these reunions is actually, it's really a blast and doing it. And of course, we have to get together and practice some, but by and large, we play the songs that we played, and they played 1,000 times, from the 1960s. And so we could almost get together today and play it if we wanted to. But it means a lot, and especially to have all the people that come and make an effort to come out to it. And it's just a big thrill for us. We have every bit as much fun, if not more, than the people that are there that are enjoying it. And we see it as, yes, it's a reunion for us. We're enjoying it. We probably can't, we're about at our max of, how we physically can do it. But it's great to see the people. It's almost like a big reunion of different classes and different towns. We just got to make sure that we've got an ambulance close by. You can throw all those aches and pains out the door for about 3 or 4 hours. And of course, it was, it's not like something that's gone on our whole lives with the Malibus and sixpence. It doesn't matter if it's a vocation or an avocation. It's important to do the best of your ability, and you just enjoy the ride and with the folks you love and throughout your life. And we were just talking about my vocation has been designing jewelry. The avocation has been truly number one, but basically being in that band and being able to play music after that, and actually even being a pilot, having my own airplane, and while I was physically able. On a different note, some people will ask me at times, what do I do? And my mind goes back to my jewelry now. So I make men heroes. And I relate, well, what do you do? Well, a man comes in, wants to buy a pair of earrings. I make him a pair of earrings. And when he goes and gives it to his wife or girlfriend or whoever, all of a sudden he's the hero. I'm not a hero, but, I've just made this man a hero. That's the way I put it. Just to do the best of your ability and enjoy it while you can, and just make the best of every day of what you're doing, and just enjoy life, and it'll all fall together. Yeah, I'm doing chemotherapy, but I can tell you what, I play guitar at church about every 6 or 8 weeks, and actually I played guitar this morning for church at the Methodist Church.
Dennis Herbert. Yeah. Dennis Rock Herbert, ladies and gentlemen. Right out there.